Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast, weaving powerful, soulful practices into functional medicine. Step into this beautiful space of devotion and explore everything from nurturing foods, rituals, sexuality, and awakening your innate sensuality. It is time to own your radiance. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Margaret Romero, and today's guest is a very close friend of mine, Erica Landau. We met about 8 years ago at the School of Womanly Arts and have been really good friends, actually soul sisters since then. And today's topic is something that me and her talk about all the time, actually. We're both single, we're both over 40, and we both do not have any children. So we jam about so many different things. One is why we chose to be child-free. If we ever feel lonely, which in fact, actually we don't. We perhaps maybe feel alone sometimes, but there's ways that we remedy that. So we talk about that, and also about dating in our 40s, when we date men who maybe want kids and how we deal with that. How we also deal with like families or friends or people who maybe wonder why are you single or why don't you have any children? It's a huge misconception, I think, that women are, I think we're definitely growing in number. Women who are strong, independent, who have chosen to not have any children. I think that's definitely growing. But I think there's a really big misconception that we are sad or we are, it's a death sentence of some sort. So, which is absolutely not true on any level for both of us. So we are here to encourage those of you women who are feeling a little bit, I don't really want to have kids, but, everyone says that I need to or have to, or my family or my friends or whoever it is, society says that you should be such and such doing this, that, or the other thing. And it's all, kind of not true, because we are living examples of the joys of actually being single and child-free. And we don't say childless because we don't feel that we have not, there's a big distinction between child-free and childless for me. And child-free just means I'm free of having a child. Yet childless seems like I'm missing out on something that I maybe desperately wanted it, but don't have it, because that's not true. So that's why this episode is called The Joys of Being Single, Child-Free, and Over 40. I think we are a growing number of women. I would love to hear from all of you, and let me know what you thought of this episode. Well, I hope you enjoy it. And on to the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Margaret Romero, and today I have a very, very dear friend of mine, Erica Landau, and she is here because we are talking about being child-free in your 40s. And this is something that me and her talk about time and time again. And for all the ladies out there who may be in your 40s and perhaps you're single and you do not have any children, you may want to listen up, because we are going to tell it like it is. And actually, on a positive aspect of it all, actually, not the negative. So Erica, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we met, it's been, 8 years ago. We met at the School of Womanly Arts in New York City, the Mama Gina School. And we remained really good friends since then. She lives out in Colorado, but travels a lot, extensively, and you love diving and all of that good stuff. So today I brought you on because we always talk about this, about how, women, that, society doesn't know what to do with women like us who are in our 40s. We support ourselves. We're independent women, and we also are, happy, and we're traveling and all these things. Now, I know there's a flip side to it all, but let's talk about the good parts of it. So you travel a bunch, and I know that you and I are going to be meeting out in Portugal for, I don't know, a week or so this summer, and you're going to be out there probably for like a couple of months. So neither one of us have children. We've never had any children. That was a decision. When did you make that decision? That's something you always knew?
I think that I knew since I was a kid because, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, let's play house or whatever. And how many kids are you going to have, or that type of thing. And I always said that I didn't want to have kids, that I wanted to have dogs when I grew up. So I just always knew it wasn't something that I really have struggled with or thought about much. It was just something that I knew since I was a kid, kind of like I knew that I love the ocean since I was a child.
Yeah, for me, it never was a thing. It was never a thing that I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to have kids. And I never had that feeling. And so here I am, 45 years old, single, and no children. And you know what, to be honest with you, my parents, my family, they don't say a thing to me. They don't ask me like, well, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? Like they know better than to say anything to me. What about you? Do you get shit from your parents?
No, I think I told my mom since I was like very, very young that I didn't want to have kids. My dad, I don't think he paid too much attention to, he probably thought, oh, she's going to get over that. And the only one that kind of gives me a little bit of grief is my grandmother, and that's understandable.
Right. So there's something that I read. God, this was such a good article. It was by New York Magazine. Let's see, when was this written? 2015. It's called The Unexpected, Exhilarating Freedom of Being Single at 41. And this woman writes that, she has, there's just so many people who are already married and have kids who are our age, and they kind of don't know how to react to women like us. Like, do you get that? Do you get that in your life?
Oh,
like where
time.
people are like, you don't have any kids? Like, I
Well,
get that question all the time.
It's been a process. It's been a process. Like, I think that when I was in my 20s, I started getting like questions like, when are you going to have kids? And then I ended up getting married and divorced. So while I was married, it was like, people were just like, when are you having kids? When are you having kids? And then I got divorced, and then they're like, well, you're still young. You can still get married and have kids. And then it became, well, maybe she can't have kids, and then it was like, you're so selfish. Why won't you have kids?
Oh yeah, I've heard that too.
So my response is like, whoa, so then the least selfish woman on the planet would be the octomom then. So, it's just like, I kind of have to have a sense of humor about it because it's just, it's like personal too. So, I'm all for if someone wants to have kids, go for it. Like totally. I have many friends with kids, and I love their kids, and I try to be a part of their lives as much as I can and everything. But it's comical and predictable and sad in a way too.
Yes. This article, this woman says here, and I'm quoting it. It says, in the stories we tell ourselves about women's lives, there exists little evidence of what life after 40 for unmarried women without children is actually like. You'd be forgiven for assuming the now what that comes after no marriage, no children, as a wasteland devoid of love and the opportunity to be endured alone till death, which sounds like, I think that people are like, what? You're not doing that. But to be honest with you, and I know that we're on the same page with this, not needing to wake up early to, put children, I don't know, to school and get them ready in the morning, like not having that, or being able to go on vacation without making sure that there's, I don't even know what traveling with children is like, to be honest with you. Actually, no, I'm sorry. My nephew, who's 7, I've gone away with him, but I haven't done all the planning. I don't really know what that all consists of. I think that life for me, and tell me if this is for you too, I feel it's like easier. I don't know. There's just more space. I just feel lots of freedom around it. What about you?
Well, I mean, the older I get, I think I'm actually proud of myself for sticking with my gut feeling of not wanting to have children. And I do have to say that, I mean, I really like my own time and my own space and everything.
Totally.
And I really value that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something that I really am glad and I feel blessed that I have it. You know, sometimes people will say, you know, you mentioned this article, like, God, well, what are you going to do when you're old? Who's going to take care of you and everything? And then at the same time, I see, you know, friends of mine or just people that I know that have had kids, and the kids end up being a disaster, and they're the ones that have to take care of the kid even into their adult, you know, lives. So now I joke, it's like, well, maybe I'll just adopt a kid that's like 17 and a half, and then it can leave when it's 18, and then it can take care of me when I'm older, which is like, it's just as ridiculous to assume that all children can take care of the parents when they're older. I mean, and if that is really the reason that people say that you should have children, in my opinion, that's selfish.
You know what? I've heard so many people say that to me. Oh, but who's going to take care of you when you're old? You know what? By the time I get old, first of all, you and me will probably be on some cruise ship and having, like, you know, people taking care of us. Like,
exactly.
It's like, I'm not going to worry about that. Plus, you know, being in the medical profession, I used to have this job where I was going and doing house calls for seniors. And do you know how many? I'd say 75% of these poor elderly people were living alone. And I would ask them, do you have any children? And they would say yes. Oh, but they live in California. They're out in Seattle. They're not even close by. And their poor parents they're so elderly that they're like not eating. They're like need help. And I'm like I wouldn't do that to my parents. But it just shows you that having kids is not guaranteeing that anybody's going to take care of you when you're you know, in your 80s and 90s, like that.
And I think another thing that is, I don't know if it's happened to you, probably. I think people feel comfortable telling me, for example, I had this ex-boyfriend that had 2 daughters that were very problematic. And he said to me, you know, I love them and everything, but I wish I'd never had them. And that's very shocking to hear. God. And it's not the first time I've heard it. Last week, another person said the same thing to me last week.
How old were their kids?
Like in their 20s.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things that I think that the fact that I don't have children, and I'm very comfortable with that, you know, and to just hearing that from people, it just really makes me, like I said, proud of myself for actually listening to myself and not being bullied, because a lot of women especially get bullied into having children.
Yes.
Because that's what you're supposed to do. That's your role. That's the only thing that will make you, and I will say this, and a very bad person uncle of mine said to me one time, you're an unrealized and an incomplete woman because you don't have children.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I just laughed because it just shows what a primitive mindset,
right,
you know, he has and many other people have. But it's just amazing, the cultural bullying that I see when women are all ages, from the time that we're little girls, we're expected to this, and then we're expected to do that, and then you're expected to have children, and then you're expected, why are you only having 1 child? You should have 2. You don't want to have an only child. And it's just, God, I feel like it never stops. So you're going to get harassed whether you have children or you don't. And the only thing that I can say is just listen to what is right for you, and so that you don't end up having to tell someone like me, hey, I love my children. Don't take this the wrong way, but I wish I'd never had children.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I think that, maybe people feel I don't know percentage wise, to be honest with you, but I'm sure that there are people out there that are like, what did I do? I don't know. But, there's got to be some small percentage of people that really, I actually have a couple of people have told me that do have children that they wish that they didn't have them. And it's unfortunate, and I know there's lots of people out there who absolutely adore and love their children and couldn't think of anything, like just it's part of them and they love the role, and that is fantastic for them. That's just not something that I decided to choose.
And like and I love my role of not being a mother. And I do have to say that one of the biggest reasons why, as an adult, I reinforced this decision of mine not to have children is because I actually like children more than adults, and they turn into adults. Kids are fun. Like if there's a party sometimes and, there's kids and everything. Sometimes I hang out with the kids. They're more genuine. They're more fun.
They're real.
I really like them, but I get tired. I just get tired. But I like children, and I don't like the way the world is. And I just can't, I think also I would just worry so much, and I would worry all the time.
I would too. It would drive me freaking insane.
I would be so worried. So I know myself, and I know that that's probably a type of stress that I wouldn't be able to handle, worrying about a kid.
I'd be so worried. I swear. Yeah. Even when I had my, pets in the past, and I would let them go outside, I would be like watching them, worried. It was, especially when I lived out in Colorado, because of the coyotes and all this cougars. When I let my cat out, I would be frantic, making sure that he didn't go too far. I probably shouldn't have let him out, but anyway, it's, but we're not going to compare like pets with children. This is a different type of worry, of course, but.
No, but if we actually worry so much about it, like my dog ate a bunch of grass yesterday and she was throwing up, and I was like, oh, maybe she ate some poison. And I just all of a sudden I stopped myself, and I was like, how ridiculous. And I'm freaking out because the dog ate a lot of grass and puked.
Right.
So, translate that into a child, I just wouldn't be able to handle it. Maybe I would, because the hormones kick in and something, just the brain changes, right. And maybe I would be able to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I don't even want to imagine it. I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Totally. Well, and they're saying that, and there's an estimated each child now that's born, lifetime for the parents costs $500,000.
And I think that's a low estimate, actually.
Oh my God. It just sounds insane.
I heard about that. Yeah, I read about that. And that's another thing. The financial part. I'm financially independent. I like that.
Yeah, totally.
And I like to have my time. I like to travel. I like to do my own things. And if I had a kid, I wouldn't be able to do so many of the things that have enriched me in my life.
I hear you. And that's, I totally am on the same page with you with that. For me, freedom is huge. Travel is vitally important to my existence. And I need to just make sure that I'm doing something, going away. And I really love that freedom to be doing all of that. And I don't know. I think that it's, for, obviously some people could care less about stuff like that. But for some people, I think for us, I think it would be, I don't know, I think having a child, let's say either one of us got pregnant now at our age. Let's say you got pregnant now. What would you do?
I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't have it.
I know.
I would not have the kid. I would not have the kid.
I know. I don't think I would.
And of course that's controversial, and people would say it's murder, and people would say it's all that and everything. But at the same time, I wouldn't wait until the fetus was giant. I mean, I'm not
Right.
irresponsible or
Right,
anything
right,
like
right. So
that.
I
I mean,
wouldn't
I'm
be
not.
irresponsible to begin with, protection and all that stuff
Yeah, I
to
mean,
avoid
of
all of
course,
that.
I would do everything to avoid for that. I've been successful in avoiding that. But if it did happen, I think it would be more selfish for me to have it.
Now, would you
It
have it?
really, really would.
What about having it and then giving it up for adoption?
No way. I mean, why would I go through pregnancy and deal with all that and maybe die at childbirth so that someone else could take the kid?
I
I
know we're
mean,
our age is
there's plenty of kids
we're high
out there that
risk.
need homes.
We're high risk
And
anyway.
and that's another thing. I mean, it's like people call me selfish. Well, why don't you go adopt a kid if you think I'm selfish and save a child? Why
Yeah.
did you have children when there's so many children that need homes? So, I mean, yeah, if I got pregnant right now, I wouldn't have it. And that, of course, and people would want to kill me for it because it's like, like
I
don't
know.
have a kid, if you
I
don't
know.
have a child, you're a murderer. But then at the same time, it's like they're executing people in different states. So it's like, I'm not even going to get into that whole political, thing. It's like, I decide the way my life is, and that's the way it's always been, and that's the way it's always going to be. And if people don't like it, I don't care. And that's just the way I am. I stand
Yeah.
firm with my beliefs.
I hear you.
I don't hurt people. I don't like people hurting me. I don't like hurting people. I just, it's just one of those things. It's like, if I'm going to respect people, they need to respect my decisions. And if not, I don't want them in my life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There was another thing I wanted to quote from this woman here. It says, let's see. Okay. However, I am now awash in a freedom I did not anticipate, and I feel great, which at times has been unnerving. Am I supposed to feel this great? I possess none of the traditionally recognized keys to happiness. No husband, no children. I am alone, a state which I am supposed to have spent my life trying to avoid. This is so much around me. There is so much around me that suggests I should be feeling otherwise, that at times I second guess my own contentment. And yet, when people ask me what I do, I'm sometimes tempted to answer whatever I want. This is not a boast. I have financial obligations like everyone else, and only myself to rely on for meeting them. So much as a statement of fact and a reminder that I belong to the first generation of women for whom this can be a real truth. But it also feels like I've discovered some sort of secret. Like, oh my God, you guys, it's so great over here and no one wants you to know about it. So I think this is really cool. I think that there's a lot to be said for women like us who have decided not to have children and are in our 40s, single or partnered, whichever. And I think that a lot of women try to avoid like, oh my God, no, but if I don't have children, oh my God, what am I going to do? Oh my God, hello, like so much. You can like do so much. Like,
but it's that pressure. It's that pressure and that societal bullying that I was talking about.
I know.
And then actually where I live here, and it's pretty common in Colorado. I mean, I would have to say that most of my friends, male and female, don't have children. And they're in their 40s and 50s and some in their 30s and everything. And it actually, where I live, it's actually the norm for my social circle. And that feels great. And it's like this new generation, this new reality of males and females, because it's also guys. And then, I also have to say, like, throughout my dating life and everything, I've met a lot of guys where they're like, oh, I'm sure you want to have children. And I'm like, no. It's probably you that wants to have children. I mean, I had a guy that really wanted to be with me and wanted me to marry him and move to like the suburb area and have children. And I broke up with him. I broke up with him because, you know what? I was blocking the energy for him to have that. Yes, and now he's married.
Right.
And he didn't have kids with the girl that he's with. I don't know if she can have children or not, or they decided not to have children. But he's married. He's happy. He's doing whatever he wants. And I've actually also met men that are like, wow, like that's really hot. Like, that's so cool that that you want that, that you want your own space, that you want your own freedom, that you don't want to be a mother. That's admirable. And when I meet men like that, it's just so cool because I think for men too, they're pressured too. And
Yeah.
they go out in the dating world and they're thinking, oh, now I'm going to have to like be careful dating this woman because what if she wants to get pregnant and like pokes a hole in the condom? Or what if all of a sudden, you know,
Oh
and
my
that's happened to guy friends of mine that
Oh my
they
gosh.
that they've gotten women pregnant that were out to get pregnant. And that is, I go back to the whole thing of being called selfish. I find that more selfish than anything.
Yeah. And you know what? Talking about dating, I think that if I meet somebody and they haven't had children and they want them, I tell them, like, I'm not your girl. Like,
Yeah, and that's what I've had to do.
It
Yeah.
just, I'm not going to go beyond the one date because I don't want
Yeah.
children. Now, if
And
they
you know
already,
what? When you do that, they are so appreciative. I
they
mean,
are.
guys,
Yeah, they totally are.
And like some of the guys that I've said this to, like we're great friends, and they just like love me because they know I'm honest, and I didn't put them in a situation where they had to waste time with me or not. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, because really, if that's what they want, if they want to go have children, that's what they should do.
Exactly.
And you know, and it's. I think it really boils down to respect. I'm going to respect someone. If they want to be triathletes, go for it. If they want to be parents, go for it. As long as no one's hurting each other. I mean, if you're not hurting someone, then fine.
Go for it. You know, it's
Go
fine.
for it. But a lot of people that have children and end up hurting their children, that's selfish.
In what way?
That's terrible. Any type of abuse.
Oh, abuse, physical. Well,
Because
there's emotional. There's also
there's
verbal.
emotional abuse. I mean,
you know.
There's a situation that I'm aware of right now where the mother would tell the child, I regret having you. I wish I'd never had you. You've ruined my life.
Oh my God, they said that directly to the child.
Yes, and that's actually more common than we think. So
I hate hearing about that.
I really urge women and men to really, really, really look deep into themselves and really choose what is right for them. Because I think a lot of people, they just automatically have children and then these poor children end up suffering. And that just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
That is just should never, I mean, for me, any type of abuse is terrible, but child abuse and elder abuse is, for me, is just the worst.
Yeah.
The worst.
The worst.
The worst.
So yeah, when it comes to dating, I definitely, if a guy's, you know, I don't know, in his 30s or something, or even early 40s, and he still wants children, I'm just not your girl. Now, a guy that has a kid, okay, I'm all right with that. You have one, you're satisfied, you don't want any more, then cool. But if you want more, I'm not your girl for sure.
Exactly.
I'm like not the one here. So, and you know, so let's just talk about maybe some of the downsides that people may be thinking about. And I think that you and I are still both on the same page about this too, is about, you know, being alone or feeling lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, to be honest, I'm an introvert, total introvert. I love my alone time. It's like and if I'm in like large crowds or with around a lot of people for an extended period of time, I need to retreat and like be quiet and like
I'm the same
be
way.
by myself to like regroup and get my energy back. So for me, I don't feel that loneliness hardly ever. I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like I'm busy. I've got friends. I'm doing things. I'm in the city. I have my practice. I work in Connecticut too. I have the podcast. I mean, there are things that just like keep me busy. I just bought a whole bunch of new books. So when there is downtime, I'm reading or I'm planning this trip that I'm going to for the summer. You know, we're meeting, and I don't know. I don't feel lonely. Like, and if I do,
but I think
know,
that sometimes people with a marriage and children can be the loneliest.
Yes,
people out there.
Listen, yes,
and
that's so
loneliness. Loneliness has nothing to do with numbers of humans around you or animals or anything like that. I mean, because really, you can be very, very lonely in a marriage. And that can actually feel much, much worse. I mean, I was married once. I'm happily divorced.
Me too.
And I remember right before the whole divorce and everything, I really felt this deep, deep loneliness that I haven't felt since then.
Oh my God.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, I rely on my friendships and, some family but it really, for me, it's my friendships.
Yeah. Same here. Same here. So there was a time, oh God, I was like in my mid 20s. I was dating this guy. We were together for a couple years. It was a long distance relationship, and I was an ER nurse at the time, so I had every other weekend off, and so I'd go up to see him, or he'd come down here to see me. And he was someone that was not affectionate at all. So when we would be sleeping in bed, he would not touch me. If we were walking together, he would not hold my hand. He would not kiss me or hug me, nothing. And we would like have, be done with like intimacy, and then, I'd want to like cuddle or have him hold me or something. No, he'd like turn right around and turn the TV on. And then I would just fall asleep, and I would be like silently crying, like tears. And he wouldn't even notice because my back was to him. And since he wasn't holding me, he wouldn't know that I was upset, or like my body was slightly shaking from like trying to sob really
Emotional
quietly.
neglect.
Oh my God. And that relationship we're actually really good friends now, actually, and I think he's a great guy, but we broke up because I felt so lonely in that relationship, because for me, and I talk about this in one of my, Wisdom for the Weekend episodes about the 5 languages of love. So, there's 5 different ways people can express their love towards each other. And for me, one is affection. That's huge. Now, in my early 20s, I didn't know shit back then. I really didn't. I had men walk all over me, and I just wasn't a strong woman on any level, and very different than today. And so I allowed this relationship to go on, even though it would be so hurtful for me to endure his lack of affection with me. And yeah.
Think about how many marriages are, they're married, they've been married for a long time. They are only staying together for the children. And I think that if you stay together for the children, you're actually teaching your children how to betray themselves. Like when my parents told me we're getting divorced, I was 14. I was almost 14. My reaction was, it's about time. They were so shocked. They were expecting me to throw a temper tantrum or no, stay together. But I said, it's about time. So that's another thing, we're talking about children and not having children or anything. I think that you really have to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're in a marriage or if you're in a relationship where you are feeling so alone, don't teach your children that it's okay to sacrifice your well-being and your emotional well-being.
Yeah.
Because then you're just teaching them failure. And that's what I saw with my parents. I saw a failed relationship, and I'm very happy that they got divorced. So you never know. Loneliness can mask itself in crowds.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And listen, if you're out there and you're listening and you're whatever, in your late 30s, 40s, and you're like, oh my God, I don't have a kid. My parents, what do they think? My friends, what do they think? Everyone's married. But it's not really your jam. Like, you're just like, meh, I could take it or leave it, whatever. And you are single, perhaps. It's like, I don't know, plan a trip, like see the world, like do some really cool, fun, exciting things. Like get out there. This world, it's like the things you can do out there. It's like the opportunities, the adventures. They're endless. They're endless.
And then who's to say that maybe you're in your 50s, for example, and you're traveling and you're in like the Republic of Georgia or wherever, and then all of a sudden you visit an orphanage and you meet this child that just you have this amazing connection, and the child might be 8 years old or whatever, and you decide to adopt that kid because at that moment that's what feels right, and that's what's you want at that moment, and it's the right thing, and you've had, maybe by then you have the financial means to just really do it, or that happens too. So if someone, just because you don't okay, I've felt my whole life that I just don't want to be a mom. I feel like it's very strange. I feel like I'm getting a break. I feel like this, if some people believe in other lifetimes and whatever, if that is, so if that exists, I actually feel like I'm getting a break. I feel like I've been a mother over and over and over and over, and a father or whatever. I feel like I'm getting a break. But who's to say that maybe on one of my trips in the future, when I'm 60 or God knows when, you never know. What if I meet a kid that really needs a home, and I can provide that stability and love and everything? I'm not going to never say never. You never know. But that's the thing. You have to be honest with how you feel at that moment. And at this moment in my whole life, I have felt that I don't want to have children.
Yeah, me too.
But who knows? Maybe when I'm 60, I'll have a 12-year-old kid from Georgia. The Republic of Georgia.
I mean, or you may be like a stepmom, and that's okay too.
Or maybe I'll meet a guy that has this amazing kids and everything, and I'm good with kids. I mean, kids like me. I really, because I'm kind of a kid myself, and I remember being a child very, very well. Some people don't remember their childhoods. I do. I remember being a kid extremely well. So I think that the key is to just keep your mind open and be true to yourself. And if you just don't feel it, don't be bullied into it.
Right. Yeah. Don't be bullied into it. My God. Because listen, you have a child that you may not necessarily really want. Listen, you've got a lifetime. Your whole life is devoted now to the child, which is fine if you want that. But if you don't really want it, and you're kind of just feeling pressured by your parents or whoever, because all your friends are. I know that this is sort of a new territory for a lot of women in our 40s.
And I think it applies to men too. It applies to men too.
Yeah.
I mean, not as much. They don't get the pressure that women. I mean, as women, we're going to get the pressure. If you do this, damn you. If you do that, damn you. I mean, no matter what we do, we're always getting criticized.
Yeah.
So that's a fact. Boom. There. Okay. Deal with it. How do you deal with it? By doing whatever you want. That's what
Which is so fucking awesome, to be able to do whatever you want, because you don't have to, for me, not waking up and having to put children to school, or I don't know, picking them up from school at the end of the day, having or driving them to wherever they need to go for soccer or whatever it is. Instead, I'm working, or I'm driving to my massage or my infrared sauna session, or, I don't know, interviewing someone on my podcast, meeting someone for lunch. Don't feel that, oh my God, if I don't have those things, then what am I going to do? You're not going to be empty. It's just,
but I think that society, I think that society thinks that if you're actually doing things for yourself and pampering yourself, and like you just said, going to your sauna, doing this, you're being selfish. I think it's more selfish to not be good to yourself. I think it's more selfish to let your hair go bad and have these horrible roots showing, and have maybe you need a pedicure and you're I'm not going to go get a pedicure, or buying, not buying yourself nice underwear, or doing those types of things. I think it's, society does not, especially the Puritan society that the United States has this antagonism with pleasure and doing things for yourself and honoring yourself. And like I said, just pampering yourself. And I think it's more selfish and more detrimental if you're I don't deserve to have my roots colored, or I don't deserve a pedicure, or I don't deserve nice, sexy underwear. I mean, it just becomes this whole thing okay, you should have children. You need to have children because you're a woman. You need to breed. If you want that, go for it. But don't do it and then resent your children oh, well, I look like shit because I have to take care of all these kids and blah, blah, blah. Your choice. Your
Right, right,
choice.
right.
Your choice. So think about those things too. I mean, if you're on like, God, should I really have children? Should I not? Or what about the women that feel like, oh, my biological clock is ticking and blah, blah, blah. And then they meet the first guy and they end up breeding with this guy and the guy ends up being a terrible father,
Breeding.
I mean, it's like, God, like, really?
I know.
Value yourself. Don't go get pregnant, oh, like some women I know. Oh, well, who's the daddy? Well, he abandoned like his children from the past marriage. And then you're having a child with a guy that already abandoned children. What do you think is going to happen to you?
Yeah.
It's like if you date a guy that cheats on every single woman that he's dated, what do you think is going to happen to you? He's going to cheat on you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think that first of all, there's something to be said about, first of all, I think you and I both look very young. And I think a lot has to do is because we sleep good every night. Like, I don't know,
totally.
I sleep somewhere between 8 to 10 hours a night. I think the least amount would be like maybe 7.5. But I
and I can feel 8. I mean, I need at least eight hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need 10, and I'm like so glad that I did that for myself. It's like, wow, I really, really, really needed it.
Yeah. And we get that luxury, and I am so, I feel very blessed to be able to have the luxury of the time and being able to sleep in when I want, or not rushing around, and feeling like I fill my life with things that I really love to do, people I see, where I go, adventures and travels and things like that are important to me. And I think that if you're out there and you're like, well, so-and-so, all my friends are married and they have kids, listen, take it from us. Like, we live a really, really, really good, fulfilling lives. And so can you, if you don't feel pressured into having children. And
well, I remember, this reminds me of when I was in university, I ended up getting a scholarship. I ended up getting a bunch of scholarships, but the point of the story is that I ended up getting like this extra money.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, God, what am I going to do with this extra money? Because I didn't really need it. I mean, I was living simply, and it just kind of felt like, okay, I'm already getting all this free money to go to school, and here's this other scholarship that I won. It wasn't that much money. So what did I do? I ended up getting a Save the Children kid, this little girl who was in northern Mexico. And I sponsored her for probably like 7-8 years or something.
Wow.
And I was really young. I mean, this was in university when I did this.
Yeah.
And that was when I first started hearing, okay, well now, then I graduated, and then it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do now? Graduate school or this or that, or get married and have children. And I actually felt this like really this satisfaction of knowing that when I was like in my early 20s, very, very young, that I was sponsoring this little girl. And you can do that. I mean, if you feel like you're being selfish and you're not helping out, there's ways to help.
There are. Oh my God. I'm so glad you brought this up because yes. And you can even go and help out and do a mission like somewhere else in the world and be there for, I don't know, 2 weeks, a month or something, and help out, or if you're in the medical field or not even.
Or another thing that you could do, right now, the school lunches are cut, and how about figuring out a way to help, schools and poor neighborhoods that are not, kids that are going to school hungry. They're going home and they might not have a proper meal.
Right.
I think about those things and like the Meals on Wheels for like elders and everything. Just because you don't have children doesn't mean that you don't care. In a way, sometimes I think that women like us care more.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I do, I even do monthly donations to different organizations. And one of them is like Kiva. Have you heard of Kiva?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you're feeling like I'm not giving back or something like that, you can do it in, oh my God, there's a million ways, a million organizations, a million charities, things that you can physically do. You can even, soup kitchens on the weekends. You can whatever. If you feel like you're not contributing or whatever, if you're feeling that way. So
another really good organization that I like is called Project Night Night, and it's for usually like battered women and their children when they go to like a, you know, like they finally get out of the situation and they go to what's it called, the battered women's place, shelter, whatever.
Yeah.
So Project Night Night, what they do is they have like these little bags, and you fill them with like a story and a stuffed animal, you know, and then they have like, you know, you could do it for like 7-year-old boys or 7-year-old girls and everything, so that these children, when they arrive at the shelter, usually when women leave a battered situation, they leave with nothing. They're just like running for their lives, and the kids leave their whatever they have, they leave. So that's another thing to think about. Like, how many women are in situations with their children where the husbands are beating them? They had children. The men had children. They're considered not selfish because they had children, but I'm considered selfish. So I think that as a society, we need to like reevaluate and make up our own questions of what really is selfishness. Because, like I said, you know, with this Project Night Night, I mean, that's a really huge thing. If you're a little girl and you arrive at the shelter and you've seen your mom getting beaten up, and that's another thing that gets repeated. You know, little boys see this, they're going to end up, it's a cycle.
Yeah,
it's a cycle of abuse. So I think that we really need to ask questions of what is selfishness? What is giving? What is listening to yourself? What is honoring yourself? How do you honor other people? How do you honor your society? How can you help? So I think that the fact that I don't have children has really made me evaluate myself and my role as a woman in this society and this world.
Yes. I totally agree. There was something, the woman that wrote this article for New York Magazine, I'm just going to quote her again. This is the last thing that she wrote on on this article, which I freaking love. She writes, "Whoa, I love it out here in the land of 40, unmarried and no kids." Or to quote Lewis and Clark upon sighting the Pacific Ocean, "Oh, the joy." So I think people think that it may be like such a horrible place to be, but in fact, I don't know. I feel completely fulfilled in my life. And
me
I know
too.
You do.
I love it. Yeah. I totally love it. And I have no regrets. I really have no regrets.
No, me either.
I really don't.
Absolutely
And that's
not.
a really special place to be in. I mean, of course, there's certain things I would want to change, and I shouldn't have dated this dummy guy or, you know, whatever, but I'm fine. I'm like unharmed. I like who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of myself. And I think that, you know, when I go out and date and everything, like men, they can sense that. They really, and I've been told, you know, it's like, wow, I love how confident you are and how sure of yourself you are and everything. And that's sexy.
Yeah.
So
it is.
That's another thing that I've gotten out of not having children.
Yes.
And I mean, of course, there's women that have children that are confident. I'm not saying that.
Right.
You need to have, like, you know, not have children to be confident. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that it is possible to be confident and to feel fulfilled without having children.
But you know what? I think that you need a certain amount of confidence also to be in your mid to late 40s and not have any children and not be married and totally living this really great life, because people will, you know, question you all the time.
Because that's scary. It's scary
for some people.
Because for some people, that's like the scariest thing that they could have ever not done.
I know.
I mean, I wonder how many women, like, I mean, you've talked to many women. They're like, oh, I hated being pregnant and I hate pregnancy and blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, they're pregnant again. And you're like, okay. Like, that's just confusing. Like, if you hated pregnancy, oh, my kid's always puking and crying and I couldn't sleep and then they're pregnant again. And I'm like, well, don't complain. I mean, maybe for me, just from because I'm looking at it from the outside, but it's just like, Why are you complaining about having vomit all over your shirt and not sleeping, and how you hated your pregnancy, and how, having a child and birthing it was like the most horrible experience, and thank God for the epidural and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why do you talk about something that is supposed to be so beautiful with such hate?
Right.
So,
and of course,
but that's okay. It's okay for women to talk about that, but it's not okay for women like us to say, well, I don't want to have children because I really would hate to be pregnant. Well, you don't know, it's the most beautiful thing and blah, blah, blah. Well,
I know,
no,
I know.
I just know. And that's like when you ask me if you got pregnant right now, would you have it and then give it to someone else? No way. Why would I go through all the trouble and the risk of maybe dying in childbirth or having like a kid that's like not well or whatever to then just give it away? I'm not a host. I'm not a breeding host for someone else.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, some people would,
I mean, for some women, that's perfect, and that's how they can deal emotionally with whatever's happened, and that and good for them. We all deal with however we deal with things. But for me, I'm not a breeding host.
Now, what if someone, they paid you $50,000 so you could be a surrogate? Would you do it?
No way.
Okay. No, I wouldn't either. You know what? Plus, we're at high risk. Nobody would pick us anyway.
No way.
I mean, we're not.
Way. Yeah, no one would pick us.
Right.
Yeah, at this age, we're high risk. Which actually makes
put my body through that.
Like, that totally cracks me up too. I'm high risk.
You know what? I wouldn't put my body through it. I would be considered definitely high risk. There's no way. No. I know it, and I'm not downplaying it for other women. If it's something in your heart and soul that you desire, by all means, please do it. But for those of you who either may be on the fence or have decided no, but you're not sure how to handle it. I mean, people ask me, yeah, let's just chat about that for a second. What do you say when people are like, oh, do you have children, or why don't you have children?
Well, people say to me like, oh, you would be a great mom. And then I'm like, well, you would have been a great geneticist. Like, what a stupid thing to say. How do you know? How do you know I would have been a great mom?
I mean,
maybe
too.
in my mind, I think I would have if I had to. But how do you know? What if all of a sudden I had a kid and my hormones flipped and I just went crazy? Like
who knows, right?
Who knows? Like, so when people are like, well, how come you didn't have kids? I'm like, well, why did you have kids? I turn it around, and then they're like, oh, because it's the most, because you were on automatic mode. You're like supposed to like finish high school, go to college, get married, have kids, maybe go to graduate school. Are you on automatic mode? I mean, oh, now you have a giant mortgage, and then you just had kids, so you have to take a mortgage on the other mortgage on the other mortgage, and you still haven't paid your student loans. And so I don't know. I mean, like, really, when people say to me, you would have been a great mom, I just say something like, well, you would have been a great geneticist. I just really see it in you.
I see you saying something like that. Yeah. So I live in a town where it's very family oriented here. Unlike your town where you live, which is mostly single people, I think. And so when I talk to women and they're like, oh, what school are your kids in? And I said, oh, no, I don't have any children. They don't even know what else to talk to me about.
No, they don't know.
I'm like, hello? There is something. I mean, I am more than just like what kind of came out of my vagina. I just, because I don't have any children, that doesn't mean that we don't have anything to talk about. What the hell? It baffles me. And so,
but I think that's themselves putting, they are putting themselves in little cages.
You think? Yeah.
But because I mean, if you really can't hang out with me because I don't have children, I think that's a fear that they're projecting on me.
I know. What is that?
It's a fear. It's not my fear, because it's really not coming from me.
No.
I think that maybe some of those women, and I'm not saying all of them, but I think some of them are jealous. Some of them are maybe thinking, I wish I would have never had children. I wish I had her life. And of course there's going to be that envy. And with that envy, there's going to be, some women are going to react with actually hate. Because I have met women that get angry at me because I don't have children.
Yes, I've gotten that too.
And that is,
yes.
Wow. I'm like, really? You're angry at me because I don't have children? I think you're angry at yourself for having children. And all I do when I encounter women like that is in my head, I say, bless you. I hope that you find the peace that you need to find, because something's wrong. Something's wrong with your motherhood that you have to get angry at me for not having children. Yeah. So all I can do is just quietly in my mind and heart send them love and light, and hopefully that they can figure out where that anger is coming from, because it's definitely not coming from me. Yeah. Because I'm not an angry person.
I've gotten like the anger too. It's funny that you bring that up. That's always
very sad. No, I haven't because we're older, I think. But I think I noticed it more when I was in my 30s. Like, just women getting angry at me.
But I think what's good is that we have girlfriends who are single with no children, and the majority of my girlfriends do not have any children. So, I mean, I get that's a plus. And so I'm not sure how I would feel if I had a bunch of girlfriends who were all married and they all had kids. I would literally find single people with no children to be friends with, because I would want to be able to do stuff with people and go out, because most of the time my girlfriends who have kids can't do things. They can't go out. They don't have the freedom.
No, they're like chauffeurs. They're driving the kid here. They're driving the kid there. And that's, some women enjoy it. I wouldn't enjoy, the older I get, the less I want to drive too. I don't know why. Maybe because I grew up in a big city and I had to drive a lot. But the older I get, it's like, I don't even want to use my car. I just want to walk or ride my bike. And like, I can't imagine, like one of my neighbors, like they had to drive to this town that's probably like 2.5 hours away for a lacrosse thing. And then the other kid has like the hockey thing. And I'm glad the kids are exercising, but wow, what about you? What about you as an adult? Is that your life? Like, if you can't picture it, for some people that's their joy. I just can't picture being a driver for a kid for sporting events. Yeah. I just can't.
I know. It takes a lot of time and energy to be able to do all that. I really can't even imagine. So anyway, thank you so much. Let's wrap up this call. I so appreciate you for coming on this call and jamming with me about stuff. We talk about this all the time. Actually, the joys of being child-free and over 40. I think that's what I'm going to call this episode, because I don't think that there is a downside, at least not for us.
I don't see a downside at all, actually.
I really don't.
For me, in my situation, I am so happy I don't have children.
I have curated my life to a point where I am very happy with what I'm doing and who's in my life and what I do on a day-to-day basis, that I don't know. There's no time to be lonely. And if I am, I don't know, I call up a girlfriend and I hang out, go into the city, go see my parents, go for a ride, go in nature. I don't know. There's just like so much to do.
There's tons to do.
There's so much that I feel like I don't even have enough time to do everything that I want to do and see the things I want to see. So, well, Erica, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and have the most beautiful weekend.
Thank you. You too. It was great talking to you again.
Thanks. Well, I hope you loved this interview and you got to see the side of women who are single and child-free over the age of 40. I think there's a growing number of us across the country, across the world. And to those of you who may be on the fence and not really sure, because you think maybe it's a death sentence if you don't have a child, now you have at least 2 women who completely love their lives. You know, we do love our lives and we are very fulfilled on many, many levels. And so I hope that this sort of helped you to know and understand that it's not a death sentence and you can live happily ever after and all will be well in your world as it is in ours. And for all the show notes, it will be at margaretromero.com/episode 29. I will speak to you all next week. Much love to you all, and take care.